Welcome back to episode 3 of our Minecraft Hardcore series. Last episode, we built an animal farmhouse, created a cozy bee sanctuary, and started shaping the land into the foundation of a real kingdom. But today, we're taking things to the next level. We're starting work on our very first farming village, with medieval houses, crop fields, and everything we need to bring this region to life. Before we dive into the farming village, I want to polish up the exterior of our home as it could use a bit more love. We'll be adding some finishing touches and building a guest house to host any future guests. If you're excited, please leave a like and please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. We're also nearing in on 1,000 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome and very much appreciated. And with that, let's get started. In the last episode, we ended off at 150 days. We are now at day 152, and we are still thriving. To get started, I do want to go ahead and polish up the exterior here, as it's just not looking too great, which means we got to go gather a ton of material, ranging from dark oak all the way to acacia. Oh, and you've probably noticed, I disabled my texture pack. I was using Faithful. I had a lot of comments asking me to disable it, and I even started a poll asking what I should do. The majority voted that I should keep the shaders and just come back to vanilla textures. So that's exactly what I did, and to be honest, it looks fantastic. All right, enough of my yapping. Let's do this. For those of you wondering, by the way, how I got mangrove, a wandering villager came by while I was terraforming in the last episode, and he actually had a trade going for the mangrove sapling right there. Country load, take me home. And I did this because just in case, just as a precaution, in case I ever go somewhere and I really need to make sure that I'm all set. All right, with the sun setting, I think now's a really good time to start building our guest house. I think I want to put it right here. So let me go ahead and clear out this area. Not much to clear out. Okay, to start, I want our base to be polished andesite. And I want a 2 wide gap for the door right here. And I want to build this going into the mountain as opposed to just floating. So we're going to make sure we follow the natural landscape flow right here. Okay, and I want a chimney right here. So I'm going to make sure that this connects to the inside because I have a really cool idea with the interior of this house. One thing I want to mention is anything that we build in this world, I'm not only going to be doing the exterior, obviously. I'm also going to be doing the interior, which is something that I know a lot of people typically skip. However, I want to do it just because I feel like you can get a little bit more creative and it adds a little bit more of a flair to any of your builds. All right, let's finish this guest house. All right, the exterior is done, and I think it looks amazing. Now we're gonna work on the interior. Okay, to start, I'm just gonna get some light in here and put a lantern in the corner. The idea that I had was to have a fireplace here, so I'm gonna place a campfire there, and I'm gonna place iron bars right here. I think it looks incredible. Now to add a little bit more character, we're gonna add a flower pot, a candle, and a dark oak sapling inside. And I think that just looks super cozy. I think I wanna put a little chair here facing the fireplace so that way it just kind of seems like somebody is living here and can just relax. And we're also gonna go ahead and line the staircase here with trapdoors just to give it a railing of sorts. And of course, you need to have your support beams. And this little area is going to be our kitchen right over here. So I'm going to add a pantry. We're going to put some doors here and some barrels for storage. We're going to add our trap doors because it's a little oven. Get some deep slate walls and line it with spruce trap doors just to hide that. And then we're going to add some pale oak white buttons here just to kind of give it a little bit more of a pop. All right, and we're going to put a little table right here in the corner with a lantern on it just for some extra light. And now it's time to do the attic. It's just going to be a little storage area. I think it's so cool that whoever stays here in this guest house has a nice cozy little area and a storage room up here in the attic. All right, we're going to put some scaffolding right here with a lantern for some light. Put some chests right here and right here. And I think it would look really cool to be able to see from the outside. Just a little flower pot here with, I'm going to do a pale oak sapling. Now that we lit that candle, everything is complete and cozy. I think that'll do it for a guest house interior, but I would say I'm pretty happy with this. And while we're at it, we're also going to go ahead and fix up this pathway. In order to fix this up properly, I decided to move over the path and expand it a few blocks, as well as curve it a little bit more towards the bee sanctuary. With the guest house almost finished, I had to go gather resources before we start work on the left side of the house. All right, I think we got everything we need, so we're going to start by getting rid of all the grass and flowers in the surrounding area just to clear some space. All right, we cleared everything around the base, and I'm actually going to go ahead and reposition a few of these fence posts. I think I want to start by laying out the pathways because I have a really cool idea for the sides of the house and also the back. All right, I think it's safe to say that I have enough gravel to start working on the exterior pathway that I want outside. All right, so we finished the first path, and I wanted to make this a little bit wider because I think I want to add a little awning right here as kind of like a workstation. But we extended this whole thing back here, and there is a hole there for a reason. I'm just kind of planning and spacing it out exactly how I want to. We also need to do a little bit of terraforming right over here, literally the smallest amount, and then we actually need to do some more right over here because this just, that just looks awful. So let's fix that. All right, that looks much better. And I just want to put spruce fence here with a lantern on top just like that. Now we have a pathway going to the back. All right, and I want to add a little step right here just so that way you can kind of see over because eventually this entire area is going to look amazing. All right, we are back. We just woke up. And you're not going to believe who I found. We found Dennis. I completely forgot that when I was collecting a bunch of grass, I had him sit because he kept on getting in my way, and I completely forgot to make him unsit. But we found him, and now that we have this name tag that we found in a mine shaft, we can officially name him. And of course, we're going to put it in all caps because his name must always be said in a screaming voice. Dennis! All right, so I'm going to put a little workstation here just with a chest, some barrels. I'm going to put a beehive full of honey right here. I want to put a bee's nest right here, and then I want to put a cluster right on the top. And I think that looks awesome. Now to really seal the deal, I'm going to put spruce fence right there because I want to build an awning simply because whoever works here will need to stay out of the sun. So I'm just going to cover this up just like that. And I think that is absolutely perfect. And then the final thing is a pot right here with a dandelion just to match the colors. And look, one of our bees came out. But it looks so much better with the honey in the actual beehive. And I want to add a little bit of color, so I'm going to put some roses right here, just like this. I'm going to get some flowering azalea and put it in that pattern, as well as another flowering azalea here. And then I want to add some buttons on the ground, just kind of like this, just as like some stones. I just think it kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. All right, and the stones are going to make a little bit more sense once we add our cart here. I want to add something that'll make it look like it's using the trail and stopping at this workstation to pick up some supplies. And we're going to put a fence gate right here and open it. We're going to add our trap doors right here. And I want to put a barrel right here facing that way. A chest. Another trapdoor here and here, along with some signs on the side here and also over here. And I think that'll do it for the cart. All right, now that our workstation is done, I want to go ahead and put a well right over here, as I think it would just add a little bit more character. So to start, I just want to put some spruce fence right here with a lantern right on top. And I'm going to put the well right here. So for this, I'm just going to use some deep slate stairs just like this. And then let me just fix that. And then I'm going to put some spruce fences right here in the corners. Jump up here and line the top of the fences with slabs. Then I want to put a flower pot right there with a red tulip, and we also filled it with water just like that. So this still seems a little bland to me, so I'm actually going to add some stones, just kind of like in a random orientation. And I think that gives it a little bit more of a pop. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Now we have to finish the other side of the house. All right, so to get started, I want to actually build a little area right out here where people can come and hang out and look at an amazing view. So for this, we should only need 3 pillars because I have an idea. We're also going to line the top block here with trapdoors just for an added texture. We're going to connect this up kind of like that. And I'm going to place 2 trapdoors, one here and one here, and you'll see why in a little bit. I'm also going to put some slabs right here, just like this, and get rid of that one. And now for the really cool part, I think I want to use some hanging acacia signs and hanging birch signs to add a little awning and give us a really cool effect. So I'm going to finish up this area and see y'all in a little bit. All right, well, our backyard paradise is complete, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I actually decided to add a little custom tree here just to make everything fit in a little bit more. But as you can see here, I added a little bench for people to just sit and read whatever they want. And there's a little awning area right here where anybody could come to eat, hang out, and also sit on this amazing bench and see phenomenal views. All in all, I think this turned out fantastic, and I'm really happy with this bench design. I have a crazy plan for the future of this valley, so this bench overlooking it is absolutely perfect. You'll have to tune in to future episodes in order to see what I'm talking about. All right, so we finished the path connecting the front of our base to the right side of the house. So my plan over here is to create a little forge, some working stations across the wall here, and then like a cooking area in the back. I have some of the main materials, but there are a lot that I still need to gather. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. All right, we got everything that we needed in all of these chests here, and now we can get started on the right side. All right, and we're going to place the final block here, and that should do it for our little work area. We have the forge right here. I even have some smoke coming out of it, which is pretty cool. You see the little candle up there? So now we have a nice smelting area. We also have a little smithing table here, so we can upgrade to netherite whenever we get that. Probably soon. And we have a little workstation. Just some nice decoration. I think it's pretty cool. I even have a little awning that I can hide from the rain. See? It's working perfectly. It works. And then a little cooking area right over here. I mean, it doesn't really function at all, but you know what? It looks cool, so it is what it is. And I still want to put something here. I think what would look really cool, honestly, is either a netherite ingot or a netherite tool. Something netherite should go right there. I also decided to add some banners connecting the house to the chimney just to add a little bit more character to the area. I think this is looking great now. We have a sick workstation on the right side of the house that's extremely functional. And on the left side, we have a nice area where people can gather and the start of a road that'll connect to our future projects. I also decided to plant a beetroot and flower field in this area, as I feel like the additional fields here would make this area look amazing and stand out a little bit more. All right, and for the entrance of the crop field, I want to actually add a little awning just to kind of make it look a little bit better, give it a little bit more character as well. So we're going to go ahead and do something like this, I think. Just like that, we're going to put out these campfires. And then we're going to go ahead and add a lantern right here. And I think just to kind of make everything fit together, we're just going to add a couple leaves. In my opinion, that already looks 10 times better. All right, now that we're done with the 2 main crop fields, I actually want to plant one more. And I think I want to put it right here next to the bee farm, so that way I can actually have bees flying around and using it. So I got to get back to some terraforming. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and build a custom tree right where I'm standing. All right, we finished the field and I think it looks incredible. Now, before we move on to terraforming the rest of this area here, I want to touch up the pathway in between the 2 fields. And we're just going to leave our chest monster here for now. Okay, and I think this is a little too bland over here. So I want to go ahead and add kind of like a little overhang. It's going to be a weird process, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come out looking great. All right, I think I kind of like that. Let me just come and take a look down here. I think it kind of gives it a little bit more of a pop, especially with the flower fields right next to it. It might look a little bit weird at the moment, but I promise it's going to come together once I get started on the farming village. Before we start working on this village, I'm going to make my way up this mountain and block off the water source because I have a really cool idea for this area right in front of me. Boom. All right. Okay, the water is dissipating and now we can get started on the massive terraforming. So to get started, I decided to rip up the path that I previously created going up to the barn, as I need to create a flat area before laying down the groundwork for a new crop field. I started by shaping the land to give it a gentle slope, making sure it would look natural once it's planted. Then it was time to bring in the water, carefully placing each bucket to feed the future crops. It's a small step now, but this will soon be the heart of the animals' food supply. Now that the first portion of the terraforming is complete, I want to go ahead and plant a field right here, specifically wheat because it's right next to the animal barn. And eventually I do also plan to add a horse stable to the right of the barn. So far in this episode, we made everything look a lot better. With that being said, we haven't even started on the main project yet. So obviously I need a lot of materials because where I'm standing and where you see is going to be fully transformed. So I need to strip down over 8 stacks of spruce logs. All right, we got everything that we need to build the entrance to our farming village, and I think I want to put it right over here. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I want to start here because I want the base of this tower to be right here connecting to this field. All right, now that we have that in, I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in with some oak. And right here, I think, is where I want to have one of the entrances. So that way we can easily access our crop field. And we can go ahead and just line the other parts of this with some spruce stairs. So similar to the other side, I want the base to start here, except I want an entrance on this side, and you'll see why in a little bit. And then the exact same thing, I'm just going to fill this in with our oak planks. All right, we are now at the top of the first tower and we're almost done with it. And I gotta be honest, it's absolutely crazy to see just how high up we are, but it's cool that we're able to just look at everything. It's gonna look even nicer once this whole area is filled in. So now that the first tower is almost complete, I'm really happy with it. I think it looks really cool. And you probably noticed that there's a hole in the side of the tower. Don't worry about that. You'll see why I did that, I promise. But before I continue this, I need to go ahead and finish the other tower. Okay, I just need to pause and take a second to show y'all something. I probably should have lit that up. That's my bad. All right, so now that we got both towers done, I want to go ahead and not only finish the arch here, but I want to add a little bit of a walkway, because if we go inside here, in both towers, we will have a staircase going all the way up. Okay, so to start, I think I want to line the frame of this gatehouse with a bunch of lecterns, and we actually have to go all the way across for this. Now I just have to repeat it on this side. Okay, so since this is a walkway, I want to block off the staircase. So I think I'm gonna put a spruce door here along with some spruce trapdoors and just close them. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. And I'm also gonna go ahead and put some spruce trapdoors along this entire walkway in kind of a weird fashion, but it's going to be something like this, and it'll come together once we put a little roof above this. All right, and now that that's finished, we're just going to go ahead and create a little roof here with our slabs. Now, the only thing left to do is to finish up the archway. All right, well, that does it for the farming village entrance. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. I really like what I did with the lecterns here. I think it just adds a little bit more of a pop, and these towers really stand out. Now that we're done with the farming village entrance, we can move on to building our first farm. All right, so to get started, I'm actually gonna fill this little hole in with some stripped birch because I wanna build our first crop field right here. Okay, so to make this stand out from the spruce monstrosity, we're gonna go ahead and use a mix of birch planks and stripped birch logs, just so that way it stands out a little bit from the spruce. And then here, I want to go ahead and do 2 high of stripped birch logs. Since the structure is standing out a little too much, we're going to go ahead and put some stripped spruce on both sides, just to kind of make it blend in a little bit more. Just like that. Yeah, I like that. And while we're here, we might as well put our door. And just for the time being, I am going to go ahead and put a lantern right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and line this whole thing with some deep slate slabs and connect it up like this. And I'm going to go ahead and continue this all the way across. Just like that. To make the roof stand out a little bit more from the tower and add more of a farm feel, I decided to texture the roof with a mix of cobbled deep slate and deep slate tiles. I also can't help myself, so I had to add a little chimney on the roof. All right, let's see how that looks. Yeah, you know what? I kind of like it. And we're going to go ahead and decorate this a little bit. All right, that's it. Psych, we also said we would always be doing the interior, so let's get this interior done. All right. Interior is complete. If you're wondering why all these trapdoors are here, I have a plan. Now we're gonna go ahead and complete the farm. And for this, I think I wanna use a mix of cobblestone, stone stairs, stone slabs, and andesite, as well as some stone buttons. As you probably saw in the time lapse, I was using a bunch of bone meal to get a lot of carrots because we only had 5. Now, before we can move forward, I'm going to go grab 2 villagers from a nearby village and get some auto harvesting going. So while I was over here getting villagers in boats, I heard a bunch of zombie noises and villagers being attacked, and I dug down, there is a zombie spawner right here, which is incredibly close to my base. We're going to have to make an XP farm here. Zombies are going to be way better than the spider farm we have. Initially, I was using the boat technique to get villagers across the landscape, but I figured it would be a lot easier to put them in minecarts, so I built a rail system all the way to the crop field. All right, we set up our chests and our hoppers. Now all we got to do is get this villager in this box. All right, now that we got our second villager in, all that I need to do is make a hopper minecart and place it right there. All right, and that should do it. All right, but now this system should be working, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next build and give this time to see if it works. All right, now that we're done with the first crop field, I think I'm gonna go ahead and finish this by adding a pretty large retaining wall. So let's go ahead and get that done really quickly before we move on to something completely different. For this big retaining wall, I wanted to make it look kind of worn down so that way it fits a little bit better in the farming region, especially once we complete all the other structures. All right, we are done with the main retaining wall. I think it came out really good. I decided to just go with basic cobblestone, andesite, and stone just because I wanted it to kind of have more of a stone bouldery look to match our wall over here. But as you can see, I just go up here and we are now at the barn, which eventually I do plan on adding a horse stable either here or on the other side. Most likely though, it's probably going to be over here. Now that that wall is out of the way, I'm actually going to move on to something in this area, which is going to require a lot of love. So to start, I need to go ahead and do a lot of terraforming by clearing most of what you see in front of me. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, we made a giant hole, and you're probably wondering why, but it'll come together. I have an idea for this area that's gonna start right here. Okay, so before we get started, we need a few things. So we need oak leaves, we need a bunch of coarse dirt, and some regular dirt, cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, andesite, and stone. I wanted to build a bridge in this exact location so that way the townspeople can transport supplies from one area of the world to another, and I think it'll link up perfectly to what we're going to be building next. You'll also see in this time lapse that I was swarmed by a horde of zombies, which was terrifying yet hilarious. Here's a little clip of that moment and my pain for you to enjoy. Oh my... Okay, hold on. What is going on? I've never seen this many zombies before. Wait. What? What was that? Anyway, now that we have the final details in, I think that should be it for the bridge, and it's looking pretty good. As you can see, we went ahead with a pretty cool design, and I made sure to incorporate the spruce just to kind of stay in line with everything that's over here. Now, all we have to do is fill this entire thing with water. And I think I want to go ahead and build a custom tree right here. So I'm going to do that first. All right, so that is our completed custom tree. The only thing I need to go and get is some glow lichen, but we'll worry about that another time. All right. We got the water all filled in and it's looking okay. The bridge is pretty cool. The tree is a nice addition. I do need to add some things to the water and give this entire area a little bit more life. All right, we unfortunately ran out of bone meal, but it's starting to come together. Now that we got the bridge finished and the area kind of touched up a little bit, I want to go ahead and tackle this area over here. Over here, I want to build a lumber mill. For the base of this build, I decided to use a mix of tough, mossy cobblestone, acacia wood, and pale moss block. I think it fits well here, mainly because we are near water, and I want to make it look like this building has been here for a very long time. For our corner posts, I started with acacia wood, mixed in some more pale moss, then some spruce, oak, and to top it off, mangrove. I feel like it'll give it a little bit more of a pop, which is what I was looking for. All right, well, we are all done with the exterior of the lumber mill, and I really like how it looks. I wanted to kind of give it an open feeling, which I think we did a pretty good job with. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. So to get started, I want to build like a log cutter, kind of like this. I actually have everything I need. So I want to put a saw cutter because it'll cut the log. Obviously, I want to put these out. And then to make sure the log stays in place, we're going to just line this entire thing with some signs. Actually, I don't think I want it there, but we're going to go ahead and line the rest of it with signs. Now I need to figure out how to actually connect this mechanism up to the structure because I plan on building a water wheel here. I ended up adding some support beams to make it look like everything was connected before building the water wheel outside. This lumber mill gives this farming village all of its power, so eventually when the waterfall is complete, it'll make a lot more sense. All right, well that should do it for a water wheel. Again, this area is a little ugly, but I do have a plan for the future. But I really like how this water wheel turned out. I struggled for so long to come up with a design for a water wheel. So I found some inspiration from some concept art and just kind of played around with it until I got this. If y'all like how this lumber mill and water wheel turned out, let me know in the comments down below. All right, it's a brand new day and I think I want to get started by marking out the area for the crop farm. So I think here would probably be a pretty good distance between that crop farm and this one. I also plan on building a really cool house for our villagers. So let's go ahead and finish up this wall. Before working on the wall, I had to actually clear out some space in order to make room for it. I decided to use the same textures and style as the other wall that we built. And I also decided to build a tower farmhouse just to make things stand out a little bit more, especially since this is a medieval fantasy world. And I think it came out looking fantastic. Okay, we finished the tower house. I also added some glow lichen all the way around. I also went ahead and added a front yard to this. I feel like adding front or backyards really makes a build stand out more. And I also completed the interior as promised. I will always be completing interiors. So any villagers that come in here will have storage, a little cooking area, and then a lookout tower. They can go all the way up here. Down here, I already installed the collection system for the potatoes. The only thing left to do for this crop field is complete it and go get 2 villagers. Okay, so we got our villagers and it seems to be working. I just need to go ahead and check to see if anything is depositing in this chest, which it is, and we are all set. I also had to raise the wall right here because a zombie came in and actually killed our farming villager, so I had to go all the way back to the village and get another one. Now that that's done, there's only 2 more things left to do for this episode. First, I'm going to connect the paths here and tidy up this area. All right, our small little custom tree is built. I also got some more bone meal from the composter over there and bone mealed the glowberries. And I finished the pathway here to connect everything as well as added a lantern. Now, before we end this episode, I do want to build a couple of market stalls, but first I need to smelt up a ton of cacti and grab all my wool. So to get started, I want to put some strip spruce logs right here. And I kind of want to do something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to curve this instead of making it straight. So instead of putting it here, I'm actually going to go ahead and put it here. And we're just going to connect this up really quickly. Actually, I want that there like that. And we're going to go ahead and connect this up as well. I'm also going to connect this, and I actually want to use an oak trapdoor just to kind of stand out a little bit from the spruce. We're going to go ahead and give this thing a really, really simple roof, just like this. And since it's only 2 wide, we're just going to turn the stair at the very top like that. And then just to kind of balance it a little bit more, I'm just going to throw some slabs. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. Now that that back part's done, I'm just going to put some upside down stairs here with some barrels just to block that off. For the rest of this market stall, I decided I wanted to use green and white wool in order to make it stand out as kind of a nature's vendor who will sell the villagers all kinds of plants and seeds. Okay, we finished our first market stall and I really am liking how this looks. I even have a cauldron on the outside. inside. But basically, you enter in through here, and the vendor will just be able to sell plants and one single amethyst shard. But I also have this cool spore blossom here, which is pretty nice. I also found out you could put a lantern in a pot. I had no idea. I knew that you could put a flower pot inside of a pot, but I didn't know that you could put a lantern, and I just think that looks so cool. All right, enough of my yapping. Let's get started on the next market stall. For this market stall, I went with dark oak to break up the surrounding tones and give the farming village its very own blacksmith, who, oddly enough, only sells one thing. I wanted to go with dark oak here. I even have a dark oak sapling, just to change things up from our typical spruce look. So this is supposed to be the village's blacksmith, but there's a catch to it. It's specifically only for hoes because it's a farming village. Get it? I also decided I wanted to build a little bench in this corner, and I'm really happy with how it came out. And that pretty much wraps up this episode. We finished the area surrounding our starter base, planted some stunning fields, started working on our farming village by building a gatehouse, a bridge, a lumber mill, some farmhouses, and a couple of market stalls. Thank you all so much for the incredible support on the series so far. If you're enjoying, please consider subscribing and dropping a like, as this video took nearly 150 days to make, and I loved every second of it. And please stay tuned for some amazing things to come. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.